Representative Mike Zalewski joins us now at 5090 WCGO, State Representative Zalewski. I wanted to talk about changes you are making, recommendations you are making, the things you support and do not support in terms of our criminal justice system here.
Yeah, I'm on a mission to sort of bring Illinois into a 21st century criminal justice system. I think the way we do these things right now doesn't make a lot of sense. It certainly doesn't make a lot of sense for the victims of crime. It doesn't make a lot of sense for the defendants themselves, and it doesn't make a lot of sense for the taxpayers. So when you have that many problems and gaps, it's probably a wise course to review what we're doing and see if we can do it better.
What are we doing wrong, Representative Zalewski?
I think in the 80s and 90s, and even in the 2000s and lately, we've decided that penalties, the longer we go on penalties, the better we are. And I think that makes sense in a limited instance. It makes sense from the position we want to incapacitate certain people and prevent them from committing the same crime over and over. But there's a lot of times it doesn't make sense. There's times when we can divert people into treatment, and we can simply handle the issue in a different community-based setting than just putting them in a prison cell where they sit on a taxpayer dime and don't provide any real value to the government or to its citizens or to, frankly, themselves.
Well, the next question is, where do you draw the line? Violent crime, drug crime, hard drug crime, kidnapping, what?
Other states we can use a model of other states. We can use Texas as a model. We can use Mississippi as a model. We can use Oregon as a model. And what they did is they went through their criminal code and they determined that small amounts of drugs, they determined that certain theft offenses deserved a different level of treatment. I think that anytime you're dealing with these types of issues, you have a General Assembly that's going to be weary of being viewed as soft on crime. So we need to balance that with some of the gaps we have in our criminal code. With we're not as hard as we should be on felons with guns. We're not as hard as we should be with gang members with guns. So if we can find the right recipe, I think we'd be in good shape.
Tell us more about the recipe. I'm interested to learn what specific changes you're looking forward to making. I understand how prisons can be, and jails can be, breeding grounds for criminals. Instead of correctional institutions, they become educational institutions. And what we're doing is we're educating small-time criminals in the arts of hard-time criminality. I presume that's one of the major reasons you advocate what you call smart on crime bills.
Yeah, I think what we need to do, so I introduced a series of bills that would, frankly, create more probably misdemeanors and fewer felonies. The reason that's important is because it redirects a lot of these individuals into the local control. It provides fewer individuals going into the Illinois Department of Corrections and more of them being handled by the local state's attorney, the local public defender, the local jailer. And maybe they get probation instead of a prison sentence. And maybe they get into some sort of special pilot program that they can get one-on-one attention. So that deals with retail theft. It deals with regular theft. It deals with small amounts of drugs. Those are the types of things that I think we need to do to again, revise our criminal code.
Are there differences between the drugs? Let's say if a guy has some marijuana on him, where are the laws now?
Well, we don't really differentiate between the types of drugs we choose to care about. I think, marijuana is probably the low-hanging fruit on what calls for reform. I think we need to move toward a system where small amounts of marijuana move toward a petty offense or a citationable offense and not a Class A misdemeanor and not along the lines of seeing someone jailed and booked for that offense. Frankly, police have better things to do. I think it makes sense for us to take a look at marijuana first. I think the cocaine and heroin and other drugs, I think that's probably asking a little too much of policymakers to decriminalize those. I don't know. I'd be comfortable with it either.
What's going on in your community down there in Riverside and the west and southwest suburbs? Are you seeing a proliferation of illegal drug crime? Are you seeing a lot of drug dealing going on? And what are some of the challenges that law enforcement around you face with regard to action on the streets and their desire to keep homeowners safe, business owners safe, and keep people safe when they're walking down the street?
I think our police have indicated to me they wish to see us take some action to help them redirect on the violent crime and things. You know, there's certain crimes that I don't think fall either in the middle of violent or non-violent or easy or not easy. Take drunk driving, for instance. I have a local police chief who's very passionate about that issue. He thinks that, you know, Riverside's kind of in a corridor community between the western suburbs and the southwestern suburbs right along Harlem Avenue, and he's really got a problem with people driving drunk, and he's really got a problem with people driving on revoked licenses. And every time he's got to make an arrest for something, for a small amount of marijuana, or every time he's got to make a curfew arrest, or every time he's got to pull someone over for something that we probably should take a second look at, it's one fewer officer he can devote to violent crime. It's one fewer officer he can devote to patrolling the streets. So those are the types of issues he's asked me to focus on, and I'm happy to do it.
Yeah, and the police departments make a lot of money on drunk drivers too. I mean, these lawsuits are very expensive. Lawyers can make $5,000 to $7,000 if a guy has had 2 or 3 beers, and the fines are enormous. You will pay. So sometimes it's $10,000, $15,000 that someone convicted of a drunk driving offense is actually paying to the state and to the police offices and to the lawyers, whereas these other offenses just put people in jail and cost the state money.
Yeah.
So is there a profit scenario here and a money-making margin or not?
In drunk driving?
Sure. Like, have there been a lot of drunk driving-related deaths or injuries in your neighborhood?
Yeah, I mean, I read the blotter, and there's a drunk driving-related arrest every Saturday.
Not arrests. I understand the arrests, the reason for the arrests. But has it been a cause of catastrophic injury or illness or death recently?
I mean, yes. I don't know about catastrophic. I don't. Nothing springs to mind in that vein. But yes, there's accidents involving drivers and property damage and you know, personal injury and pedestrians getting hit by people texting on their phone or driving inebriated. So that's definitely an issue.
Mm. Well, that's very interesting. Are there things that we should take to the bank and really remember about the Smart on Crime bills that you're introducing?
Don't hold. I mean, if you have a local legislator who's willing to go out on a limb and make a tough decision and do what's in the best interest of the taxpayer and the moral good thing, don't hold it against them. Don't fall for the mailer that says they were soft on crime. Appreciate the fact that they stuck to their guns and had a backbone and did the right thing.
So what are the crimes you want to be hardest on? Drunk driving fines? Is that right?
Illegal possession, felon possession of weapons, you know, obviously the murders and the armed robberies and the things you would typically consider a forcible felony. Those are the things I really think we need to focus on in our criminal code.
Well, certainly by cracking down on illegal weapons, we also can try to find out, you know, who the real bad guys are, and get armed robbers off the streets in time, possibly before they commit more heinous crimes.
Sure.
Well, that's very interesting, and I wish you well. Have you had some luck in communicating these complicated and politically dangerous ideas to the citizens of Illinois and in your neighborhoods as well?
Yeah, I mean, every time I talk about this issue, I get a lot of positive feedback. I think people realize that this is a fight worth fighting, and they appreciate that we don't do this very well in Illinois, so I think I've gotten a good response thus far.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you joining us, Representative Mike Zalewski. Thank you for your service to the people of Illinois, the Riverside communities, western, southwestern suburbs here, the city, and look forward to having you on in the future. Representative Mike Zalewski, ladies and gentlemen, State Representative, Democrat, Riverside. This is 1590 WCGO, Chicago's New Talk.